The Bridge official podcast of the Belfast Giants for kingdomofthegiants.com. Today's Wednesday, the 15th of March, 2023. And my name's Patrick Smith. You can get us live on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter. You can also download us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and a load more of your normal podcast providers. On this week's show, is the old hashtag of Road Warriors back? 4 points, 8 goals scored, 1 goal against, 1 shutout, and against 2 teams that could have been a banana skin for their own reasons. But no, with 3 weekends left in the season, the Giants sit 5 points clear on top of the EIHL. We'll get to those games against Sheffield and Manchester in just a few minutes. George Awada is our guest on the fan agenda as we look at his first season behind the bench as assistant coach. Get your questions in for that if you're watching in live. There's a little bit of news to discuss, a battle of top and the bottom of the Elite League, and the CHL is back, but somewhat controversially. And with a doubleheader against Cardiff only a few days away, we're delighted to welcome on for his Views from the Bridge debut, Neil Francis, the assistant coach of the Cardiff Devils. But let me start. I'm in a good mood today. I've had a really good day. But let me have a good night's sleep last night as well. But let me start by introducing my 2 good friends. With this being edition 27 of a potential 32 this season, I'm going to give them the credit they deserve. Firstly, he's been a staple of the podcast for over a decade now. And when I've been flagging, he's pulled the show together. And to be honest, without him, A View from the Bridge would probably met his demise long ago. He's the spreadsheet king and has rightly named every Giants webcast with snippets of information as he heads up the magnificent Giants stats team. He broke his leg a few years ago, but he never mentions it, and is unarguably the keystone of this entire venture. Mr. David McJimsey, how are you?
Good evening, Paddy. See, right, if we rewind right back to the start there, what date did you say it was today?
Wednesday, the 15th of March.
Right, okay. I'll look forward to listening to that back in the morning. I thought you said Tuesday, the 23rd of March, and I was a bit confused. I didn't know what day it was, but fair enough. Thank you very much for that.
It was my daughter's birthday yesterday, so it's
Thank you for that very kind intro. I'm not worthy of it, but we just sit in our bedrooms and talk hockey, and it's been a lot of fun for a lot of years. It seems like more than 10, but there you go. Many have we done? Any idea?
How many shows or how long it's been?
No, how many?
I have to have a look. I have to go back and have a look. Yeah. I always say I have to look. I'm not as statistically aware as you are, David, and I'll have to go back and put a bit of work into it to find out. But I will do that. And also, the man who offers this podcast an air of credibility, stalwart of the Dumfries Vikings and Castlereagh Knights, and an Irish ice hockey international, nonetheless. I watched one of his goals on a big screen in the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto once. True story. Now he is one of, if not the best play-by-play man behind the mic in the Elite League. And his work behind the scenes for the Giants is something else also. Local ice hockey legend, Mr. Simon Kitchen. How are you doing?
I'm all right, Patrick. What's your pronouns?
Lord and King.
Absolutely no. I disagree with what Davey said. He says he's not worthy. Absolutely, is worthy of all the plaudits you give him. Or so am I. Apart from the bit about the play-by-play king, I just bluff it,
mate. Listen, I think everybody who's ever stood beside you on that webcast will know how difficult it is to do it, and you do it very well. And let's put it this way: haters are going to hate. I love how excited you get.
It's water off a duck's back, mate. I honestly couldn't care less. Doesn't worry me in the slightest.
I know we're old. We're all old dinosaurs and all, and there's them chest or him. There's like somebody's got, and we try to make light. I think sometimes of this pronoun, but somebody says in a survey yesterday, the day before, probably the wrong person to ask. But what's your pronoun? And Jasmine just reached across and went, legend or dad.
True story.
Fair enough, if you ask me. Fair enough.
Bit of crack, sure.
Let's get into the hockey, boys. The Belfast Giants had, in my opinion, a cracking weekend, both in their own games and results around the league that sort of went in their way. We'll start with the game, obviously, that took place in Sheffield on Saturday evening. What could have been a big Manaski and another title rival ended up with the Belfast Giants walking away with a 4-0 victory. McLeod with the opener on the power play, Lake and Conway on the power play with it for his, and Mark Cooper with the empty netter. In nets, Tyler Beskorowany, 21 shots against, 1 goal against. No, sorry, 21 shots against, no goals against. My apologies. And Matt Greenfield, the other side, 35 shots against, 4 goals against. Your refs are Tom Perring and Oliver Truswell. David, it was a dominant performance from the Belfast Giants and one that was very welcome.
It was. You never look past a shutout away at the Sheffield Steelers, no matter how many goals you get the other end. So let's start with that. The defensive performance was really good. So strong again from Tyler Beskorowany. His goals against average, his save percentage has just been ridiculous since he came back. He makes at least 2 big saves before we get on the board. They have like a 3-on-0, 3-on-1 breakaway that, they pop a goal in there and it's a completely different game. Somehow they get that crowd engaged because it's a bit like a library at times in there. I heard at the start of the webcast, I'm saying, Kelly Ackard was out. They were playing a wee bit short. They were still able to roll 4 lines. And when you look at, like, we were missing Butcher, Rayner, Bomber, Angeli, Bast, Ericsson, Soy, Hook, Chamberlain, Norris, Stewart, Beattie. We had all those players that we missing. So, we cobbled the team together and managed to go there and get a bit of a result. Obviously, the first goal in the power play, they just couldn't get out. They couldn't get out. That's a swarm. I think Aaron Fox used the term, and we've used it a lot this season about swarming them. That forecheck that we have, that back check we have, where they just couldn't get out, and the shot comes in. There's a broken stick on the play. Giants go one up through Matt McLeod, I think it is, gets the goal. And
yes,
from then never looked back. Won all 3 periods, which I love to see that. That's just a wee statistical thing I love to see. Teams that win every period, and we won them all to 0. The second goal, the Sheffield Steelers have 8 different angles on every goal, and we've won 4-0. So let's see every single angle 4 or 5 times. Brilliant. The second goal is a beauty from Ben Lake, and Simon will go on to talk about Ben Lake, and as he does every webcast and show, and rightly so. And he has that. Ben Lake, I'm not sure whether he's married or whether he's engaged or what it is, but remember at the playoff or at the Challenge Cup final, you said that Ben Lake's, is it his fiance or girlfriend or whatever? If you're ever leaving, Ben, let me know, because I'm going to have him next. It's I love him that much. But here he takes the puck coming round from the top of the circle, and he comes round. 2 guys go to the net, creating a wee bit of havoc in front of Greenfield. Greenfield can't see the puck. Ben Lake picks it up, comes round the top of the circle, and just releases one into that top bench, far top corner. It's just coming now. Just a little bit of traffic in front. Can't see it, can't save it. 2-0. And from then on, that was in the second period, we took control of the game then. They were out of the game. They lost their heads a little bit at that stage. Obviously, Valorant kicked out of the game. McNally kicked out of the game. We'll come on to that. It's cut in the tape here as well. So I'll let Simon come on a wee bit here about the rest of the game. I've got comments about the other 2 goals, but I'll come back to give Simon a word.
Simon?
Thanks, Davy. You touched on it at the top of the show, and when we intro in this game, we did dominate it, and it was all aspects of the game. You look at some of the things. I mean, that you're just watching the play here now. Valorant giving Kieran Long a hug. Longer just got absolutely under his skin. I know you'd love to see somebody just getting stuck into Valorant, especially after that. Well done. But I think the Sheffield Steelers would be very disappointed the way the Valorant move has actually turned out. When you bring people back, it doesn't always work out the way you maybe was 3-4 years beforehand. Don't get me wrong, he's been a good player for them over the years, but in saying that, the way he's been getting thrown out of that game at 2-0 down is a big, big move. You can't be making, that's a selfish penalty to take. We get a power play goal on it, we go 3-0 up. It's one of those plays that, as Aaron Fox will probably been given Valorant an absolute going through in the dressing room. He's not going to come out because coaches back up their players apart from his Corey Nielsen. But it's one of the plays that, as I say, as a player in that room, you'll be very disappointed with Valorant as a teammate, because at 2-0, they're one shot away of getting right back into this game. We go 3-0 up with that power play goal, and it just deflates them. And then
can I come in on Valorant there just briefly? Says is that what I got from that, and I felt this at the back end. I said it was much in the back end of last season when we were having big games against them, and Valorant went missing for the Sheffield Steelers, and it seems to be something that he was doing. He's great. He appears at times to be a bit of a flat track bully, that he will show up in games against Fife and throw it about a bit. But what has happened more often than not is that if he's not seen in a game, then when it gets to the third period, you suddenly see Valorant, because you saw that whole sequence that led to him getting ejected from the game started, about 5 minutes earlier, and he's with Kieran Long, and then they go for the face-off, and he's in Kieran Long's face, and then he stupidly just grabs him and wrestles him to the ground to get himself 2 minutes. He's already put his team on the back foot, and the hit on the hit on Cooper comes within seconds of him leaving the box. There's no need for him to make that play. There's no need. It seems as if it has to be about Valorant. He has come in with a reputation. He's come in with a big ego. He's come in with all of this, but he's not producing. He's not producing the goals he wants. So when it gets to the third period, I remember at the back end of last season when in a game in their place, the third period, he just started chasing our players down for a fight. They were losing the game, and he was just chasing our players down for a fight. That's about him. That's not about the team.
I do agree with that, and sometimes that's if you get somebody goaded into a fight, then can work in your favor. But our discipline, and again, Kieran Long is really, really good at getting under your skin. He gets under my skin, and I'm on the same bloody team as him. But some of the things he just comes off with are absolutely epic, and I know what he said to Valorant, obviously not repeated, but it's it just gets under his skin. Valorant bit. As you say, he came out of the penalty box, I think it was 8 or 10 seconds, and he does that. It's a selfish penalty to take. As I say, 2-0 down, you're in the game, just needs one shot. That crowd in Sheffield can get going. There's no doubt about that. They've done that. And then, sure, the next night he comes out and scores the first goal. I thought he was going to get suspended after the 5+ game, but, nothing from Dobson. Comes out, scores the first goal against Guildford, and he ends up going out and beating Guildford. But, for Scott Conway to get the power play goal to make it 3-0, that was the end of it. Obviously, again, defensively this weekend, if you'd offered me, to be honest, 3 points before the weekend, it just passed, I'd have bit your arm off for them. Manchester are playing really well. We all know it's a tough place to go to. The Steelers maybe just haven't played great in the last few weeks. But if you'd offered Adam, I think if you'd offered Adam 3 points before that weekend, I think he'd give you them. If I bit your arm off for them. But to come away with 4 points in two buildings that are tough to go into, silence their crowd, dominate most of those 6 periods, over the game. Manchester played a little bit better in the third. I thought they'd sort of, deserved to get their goal. There was a mistake by us, but we'll go on to talk about that. But for me, an absolute dominant performance. On Saturday's game, I would argue it's probably our best team performance of the season. Yes, we beat Cardiff, 9-3 during, that's a one-off. That's not going to happen very often. But, you've other games that we played really well this season. But I would say that's the best performance as a team that we've put in this season, especially away from home.
The third period also had that issue, Davy, with Brandon McNally, and he puts an interference hit, an unarguable interference hit on Sam Rupp, and then goes after Rupp, is sort of tried to be calmed down by Kieran Long, and loses his head.
Just a bit of a head loss, yeah, and I think he got through out of the game as well and let his team down when they're in a position where they're really fighting to get that. That's not a good hit. And I know we don't want to. You don't necessarily want players suspended against Guildford Flames the following night if we're being totally honest about it, because we've always talked about, I think players should serve their suspension. You and me talked about this yesterday too. Says should serve their suspension against the team that they've taken the penalty against, but it doesn't happen in other sports. I understand that it doesn't happen, but it's not a clever hit at all. And Valorant had lost the run of himself. McNally then got involved, and you look, Simon talking about discipline. The discipline's been really good, and you talk about penalty battles. And when I talk about a penalty battle, perhaps how many power plays we get versus how many the opposition get, and week on week on week, and that's part of the Adam Keefe process. Don't take as many penalties as the opposition take. Have more have more opportunities with the extra man than you give away, have more power plays than penalty kills, and we're doing really well in that. So the defensively, again, Bast and Conway linking on the special teams. Like Simon and I've sent you obviously the stats, Simon. You've seen last 10, last 12 games or whatever. Special teams have been really, really good. I'm not going to put the numbers out there because that's just, I don't like the scud things like that. But then if you go on the fourth goal, I always talk about the extra empty nets, and the big thing in I suppose the NHL at the minute is the amount of empty net goals Alexander Ovechkin scored, and saying, he's closing down Gretzky, but he scored, 6 million empty netters. Gretzky scored a lot of empty netters too. But the clever play here is the speed at which Mark Cooper identifies a 2-on-1 on the half wall here. Cooper's gone. Coop's had gone there, and he identified there's a 2-on-1 here. There's a good chance we're going to win it. We're already outnumbered on the half wall. If these two guys come up with a puck here, I'm gone. Empty netter. So, that's a really good goal for me for Mark Cooper. The speed he identified that there was an opportunity here, that even if they didn't win the puck, he could probably come back around anyway, because they had stacked 4 guys over to the point there. So even if they won the puck, they couldn't do anything with it there. Coops could have got back in the defense. So really, really clever play to round out a really, really strong performance in the Steelers arena. Great.
Let's hear from both coaches after the game.
I thought both teams played very good in the first period. I know we were down a goal, but I thought we matched their energy, their compete level in the first period. And then the second period, they kind of took over that hockey game. We talked about it after the period, and the reality was they just played harder. They won every loose puck. They were physical and aggressive in the D zone. They swarmed, they outnumbered, and we didn't use our release points well enough. And when we did, we didn't take advantage of it. So, third period, obviously the waters got pretty muddy there with the refereeing. You're not going to kill 10 minutes, 11 minutes of penalty being down and come back in a hockey game at the same time. But no excuse there. Did I think those calls were calls? No, I didn't. But I don't think that affected the outcome of the hockey game tonight, because I thought just Belfast was better. Very good hockey team, and they earned that tonight.
Yeah, I thought it was a complete game from our group. I knew we were going to be ready for the moment, but again, we're up against a very good Sheffield team, and you're never quite certain how it's going to go. And obviously it was a tight first period there, a big power play goal for us to kind of give us that, that cushion going into the period break. But I thought our guys did a good job resetting in between period breaks and coming out and doing the job. And I thought, defensively we were very good. Not giving Sheffield a whole lot of life to get back into the game. And then when we did have some breakdowns, and Besco was very strong.
Defensive element is something I want to come back on when we talk about the Storm in just a second. The highlights of this game are available at some point, I'm sure, from the Sheffield Steelers on YouTube. Last time I looked, they weren't there, but yeah, I'm sure the highlights.
They're there. Yeah.
Oh, they're there now, are they?
17 minutes of highlights. So 17 minutes of highlights of a 4-0.
No post-game podcast, which so wait. Right, let's move on to the game. The Giants travelled over the Pennines to sunny Altrincham. It wasn't sunny, it was a really rotten day, to face the Manchester Storm at the Drizzle Dome, and a 4-1 win for your Giants. Davy Gilbert, or as it was announced in the arena, David Gilbert, scored the opener after 1 minute and 7 seconds. Mark Cooper with the second, Josh Roach with the third, and Henrik Eriksson with the fourth. The only goal for the Storm came on 50-46, and that was from Tyler Barrow. In nets, Tyler Beskorowany, 30 shots on, 1 goal against, and the other side, Jeremy Brodeur being watched on by his father, 56 shots against, 4 goals against. The referees were Dean Smith, who I thought had retired, but obviously not, and Joe Sewell. Before I ask the first question, just a bit of a shout out to a few lads. Tommy and Arthur, who were at their first hockey game with us. The sons are good friends of ours, and the interest in the questions that came from the lads during the game was great. 2 lads at their first game, getting really involved, asking, the rules can be tough to get. The rules can be tough to understand at the best of times, but these 2 young lads were getting really involved and really enjoying the game. And also, to young Josh, a classmate of our Rushing's who came along. It was our Rushing's birthday there the other day, and we went as part of her birthday, and Josh came along, and it was his first game also, and he walked away with his favourite player being Josh Roach, and all the kids had great crack. And I said I'd give them all a shout on this week's podcast. So yeah, there you go.
Did you get somebody to explain the rules to him?
I had to find somebody. Yeah. Thankfully, there were a few people sitting around that were able to turn around and explain the rules.
Well played, Simon.
Thanks, mate. I was really nice to you at the start of the show. Really nice. And do you know what? Never again. Says one-way traffic for a lot of that game.
I thought we were great. I really did. I think the only mistake we made throughout the whole game was giving their goal up. I know the boys are disappointed. I know Besco's disappointed with that goal. It's sort of, we had the opportunities to clear the puck and didn't clear it. But again, getting off the early goal in that arena is always important. We got the second goal was disallowed. I'm not. Stevie Packer was trying to, give his view on it, but I'm not sure if the net was off, or I'm not sure if the goalie interference.
Goalie's helmet came off. I think it's actually Dean Smith calls it from the halfway line because he's straight down the pipe of it. I think it's in the highlights, to be fair here.
That first goal that they give up, that's a bad one for Brodeur to give up. It's a backhand shot. There's not much power in it, in fairness. He should have had that, but again, you just watch the way we're moving the puck forward. I mean, here Gilbert goes again. He gets that first goal. He gets that little bit more, what's the word for it? Confidence out of it.
Joie.
Yeah, Joie. There you go, David. Very good. For that goal to be disallowed, that it's a tough one. But the goalie, he loses his helmet because when you watch the play, it's actually the defenseman sort of pushes our player in them. I don't even know who the player was, actually. But again, over the 60 minutes of that period, over the weekend, we just played solid hockey. We're there for each other at every opportunity. You're getting chances to, when they come along, you're taking them. You go 4-0 up again in a tough building. You couldn't hear much noise from the Storm fans that were there. And it was great to hear. I mean, you could hear the Belfast Giants supported. I have no idea how many Giants fans made the trip over, but
it was from my point of view, says, and obviously I'm there for every Giants game that's in that building. That's the healthiest I've seen a Giants crowd there for a long time. Over 100, maybe close to 150, and it was really good to see.
So about the same as the Storm fans.
No comment. Good crowd actually in there as well.
You've got your goals come from all angles. Gabe Bass missing on Sunday, and that was a bit of a concern. Hopefully he's going to be okay for this weekend. But he's been our player of the month, and not that he was that interested, but he's been absolutely brilliant the last month, 6 weeks. And I was doing a wee bit of work at the end. I don't like taking, I texted Davy earlier on, but he ignored me. He didn't get back to me.
I didn't.
Have you got it there?
No, I felt that it was yours. It was your baby, so you go with it.
It's your points. It's your stat, man. But I was looking through Basti's points, and I was looking back at guys, defensemen who have been very, very good for us not in one season, but in individual seasons. I mean, Basti's on 67 points right now in all competitions. And that's only second to Jeff Mason. Jeff Mason had 79 in 2011, 2012. He just took over Spiro Galakos, who was, he got 66 points. And he was really quick to that, Davey, wasn't he? Like 50 games or something like that?
Fastest ever to 50 points in D-Man.
But Gabe Bast has been absolutely brilliant. He's been absolutely outstanding. And he's a really, really good lad as well. And he really wanted to play on Saturday, but with a bad play on Saturday, wanted to play on Sunday, but a bad play Saturday night, he was just unable to take to the ice. So, again, Kieran Long stepping back, Mark Garside stepping back, and having to pick up a defensive unit again and play. I don't know how many minutes he plays, 13, 14, which for Gary's a lot at the minute. But a solid team performance, a very, very well-deserved victory, and 4-point weekend. You couldn't have asked any more of this group.
I want to come back to Davy on that defensive element, and I thought defensively we were like, yes, maybe a bit of an issue. Well, a bit of an error that led to the goal, but that's a difficult place to play. You know, the Storm know how to play in the spoilers, and when they get the break, they do well to go in on goal. But I thought defensively we were really good. I'm hopping aboard the Matt Foley hype train because I think that he's been absolutely fantastic over all season long. But particularly, I felt that the weekend I thought he was great.
I don't know if there was a a little bit of added pressure on Jeremy Brodeur with Dad being in the building, but I think his dad will have been watching through his fingers in that first 15 minutes. Like as Simon's already alluded to, that first goal from Davy Gilbert, a little on the soft side, shall we say, you know, that backhand with no real spice on it has snuck through. Coops is identified it again fast when he's coming around the back of the net that there's a little gap to shoot in there, and that's the brains that you get with Mark Cooper. He's made it 2-0, and from then the Giants have been able to settle in the game. You give the Belfast Giants, to be fair, a 2-0 lead in this league against any team, they're going to be very hard to peg back. Who comes up? The third one is a lovely outlet pass from I think it's David Goodwin from left to right, and Steve Ori just puts a little tip on it halfway down the ice. It puts it on the D-man stick, and Josh Roach is able to go in and score the third. And then the fourth one from Hank, or is it Hank scores that one? Can't remember which way around it is. But then me and Simon were talking yesterday about the Belfast Giants one, and we sort of 4-0 up. We're taking our foot off the gas, but we were still taking those opportunities to go on the rush, and we've rushed. And then when we've turned the puck over. All five of us are facing Tyler Awada. It's just when I'm doing the plus minus, you can read all five shirts. Generally have to replay and rewind a few times to get everybody that's on the ice. This time they made it easy for me. Everybody's facing Besco. Then the puck goes behind the net, and when it comes back out, everybody's facing that way and has to turn. And by the time the turn, it's in skates, and you're digging in between your skates to try and get a puck out. Besco's made the first up save, and he's just sort of frozen the ice because he can't get the leg out quick enough. Unfortunate. Simon has said it. They probably deserved a goal with the effort that they continue to put in through the 60 minutes of the game. They wanted something out of the game. That somebody threw the gloves down with, was it Grant Cooper?
Yep.
Just after the fourth, straight from the face-off from the fourth goal. Coops has gone in. He's got a boarding call, again called from quite a distance by Dean Smith. And can't remember who it is, comes in for the fight. If you told me his name, says I'd remember. Yep, Tyson Fawcett. Remember typing it in the other day. Another first to fight against the Belfast Giants. Belfast Giants now 120 different people have dropped the gloves as a Belfast Giant. There's a wee stat for you. Well, out of sort of 240 Giants. So one and two Belfast Giants have threw the mitts down for the club at one time or another. But a strong defensive performance. We're building everything off. For me, Simon can have his view on this. I think the confidence that Tyler Besco-Awani's came in the last, whatever it is, 12, 13, 14 games, something like that. It's like 11-3 or something, isn't it? Four shutouts. The confidence that he is giving the whole team in front of him. And when we've got those five guys, we're very defensively sound, both ends of the ice. When we lose the puck, we're quite disciplined in having a third man high. We're quite disciplined on the back check. We talked about swarming defense and swarming forecheck and stuff. So, but Besco just gives you that safety blanket that if you happen to give a 2-on-1 away, if you give an odd man away, which we always as a team try to limit the odd man rushes we give away. But when we give them, you look at Sheffield, we talked about it earlier, we give a 3-on-0 or a 3-on-1 maybe with a man really busting his chops to get back in there to make it 3-on-1. Besco comes up with big save. Besco has probably made, I'm going to say 4 or 5 breakaway saves over the weekend. 1-on-nones, 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s and stuff. Besco made the big saves at the big time. And when you've got that goalie, Simon, you're probably better as a D-man. When you've got that goalie behind you, I don't know if you ever had one that you just knew was on his game and he's probably going to save this puck. It gives you that little step that you can be a little more offensive as a team. And as a team, we can be that little bit more offensive because we've got a really solid defensive structure. And we've got that goalie in between the pipes at the minute who just is exuding his confidence to the rest of the team.
I think, to be honest, Jackson does that as well when he gets in the lineup. The big thing is...
In no way was I diminishing Jackson's part in this. He hasn't played a lot lately.
Yeah, Besco, and that is the problem in itself because Besco, you just can't drop him. I mean, it's been that good. You've already looked. Talked about his stats. He's been absolutely outstanding. You know, Matt Greenfield has done it all season long for the Steelers, and you know, it's a. Did somebody say he got man of the match on Saturday night?
He did,
and they get beat 4-0. That goes to show that how good we actually played. For that's it tells me.
I think Scott Conway had 17 shots on Saturday night. We pummeled them. We put so much on Matt Greenfield. We hit the bar, we hit the post, and he made a lot of big saves at key times. He probably was their man of the match. I don't think that's all. You know, I think he deservedly won his man of the match.
Fair.
No, I just think again that, you know, when we, you know, and again, you talk about hockey players remembering things. The boys talked about it last week about getting beat twice in Belfast and a doubleheader weekend by Manchester at the start of the season. And I actually asked Adam about that this morning, and he talks about it in the interview briefly as well. And you know, it's one of those ones where, you know, for the Belfast Giants to, as I say, looking ahead to that weekend and getting down to the really nitty-gritty games that, you know, it's always at the back of your head. So some of the boys, I don't think Grant Cooper had played there. I don't think Donny Niles had played there. Obviously, McLeod hadn't played there. McLeod, we talk about McLeod's first 3 strides in a normal rink. 1.5 strides into the other side of the rink in this game.
Yep.
And that's, you know, and that's how quick this kid is. But you know, you would have had a better view on it, Paddy. I'm sure, you know, watching the game, obviously the kids to look over as well, but watching the game in the arena, it just goes to show how quick the kid is.
Do you know what? Phenomenal. And like I say, we have had a couple of people there and parents as well who had never been to a hockey game, and they were able just to point the finger at Matt McLeod and say, wow, he's really quick compared to the rest of the players there, and really skillful compared to the rest of the players there. He was a real standout, and it's, you know, something that was talking to the other Storm fans and the likes of Sam Bell and Stephen Packer and a couple of others, and you know, they were astounded that we could pick up a player of that speed and ability so late in the season. McLeod has really stood out as a leading player in this league, and he's only been here a matter of weeks. I'm going to go. Sorry, says one more point.
I was talking to a couple of boys last week. I'm not naming names, but they were saying about. I was saying about Manny McLeod. You know, how's he settling in? Because I see him settling in, obviously from an offense perspective, and see him around the room, and the boys are all getting on well with him. But in the room itself, I just wanted to see how things are going. And I said to 2 or 3 of the boys, and I said, "What's the story?" I'm obviously here, and they were the 4 I spoke to were here last year, and I said, "Do you think he's as quick as Bush?" And they said, "No." All 4 of them said no. And that bit for me, I was going, God, really? And then it obviously with Bush being on the ice with those guys in practice every day for 9 months, and as I would have thought, I think I've said to Davy about it, McLeod is really quick off the mark. I mean, 3 strides and he's gone. But they were saying if you basically give him like 3/4 of the rink, Bush would have won the race.
Davey, you had one more point to make before I moved it on.
What was my point going to be, Paddy? Can you remind me?
I don't know. It's your point.
Nah, I can't remember now. I was looking up something else about Davy Gilbert there, so I've kind of forgot what my point was going to be. It was going to be brilliant. It was probably going to be my point of the night, but
it's amazing. If you think of it, mate, just, you know, when we're talking to George Awada in a couple of minutes, just shout it out. Just shout it out in the middle of the interview. We'll see how it goes. The highlights from that game are available from our good friends at Storm TV, and like I say, good to hear. Actually, good to see Stephen Packer on the mic. He travelled all the way. He lives an hour north of Dundee, and he travelled all the way down to call that game. And interview Martin Brodeur into the that. So Storm TV on YouTube. Sis popped down to training. We'll talk to George Awada in just a moment, but before that, Sis popped down to training. He chatted to Donny Niles and to Adam Keefe.
I got to experience Sheffield and Manchester for the first time. 2 different arenas, but most important thing was the 4 points.
Yeah, like you said, 2 very different arenas. Manchester, I don't know if I've ever played in a rink that small, and Sheffield's obviously one of the bigger ones in the league, so I thought it was good for us to go from a big one to a small one and still get the same result, so it was a good weekend.
Obviously, Giants took quite a following of fans as well. They must have been a big help, that 4-0 victory in Sheffield, which, you know, when it's the first game of the weekend, it's the one that you're concentrating on. To come out with 3 points is a big plus.
For sure, yeah. Every time we came on and off the ice, the fans were right there, and we could hear them loud and proud, and that does give us extra motivation and energy. Whether we were up, I guess we were up the entire game, but even when we're down, when they're yelling, it gives us an extra push to get going.
Manchester, as you say, storm shelter. It's unique. But you know, it's all about the result in the game, nor 2 points.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I ran into my teammates about 3 or 4 times. Just not expecting somebody.
Not much space, there's not.
Not expecting somebody to be there, and next thing you know, there's somebody there. But yeah, it was definitely different. But we got the result we wanted.
2 games at home this weekend to start a 5-game home stretch. You have a big opportunity here. The Cardiff Devils are certainly going to come into time with a lot of confidence, and they're playing pretty decent as well. So it's a big battle ahead.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I like playing here. I think we all like playing here. We've made this kind of our home, and hopefully the fans can bring it for the next 5 games.
Top man, cheers, Donnie.
Thank you.
Going into last weekend, you talked about moving as a group and continuing one game at a time, and that was 2 big results against Sheffield and Manchester.
Yeah, especially if you look at the scheduling and recognize that those were games, 2 of our last 3 road games, and to get them out of the way with wins was important. Now we're back at home here, but it doesn't mean the challenges don't stop coming.
The Saturday game with 4-0 shutout in Sheffield, arguably one of your best team performances this season.
Yeah, I thought from start to finish, I thought it was a great complete performance from everybody. I think everybody just understood the magnitude of the game, and for a while now we've been playing playoff hockey. It's just a different style of playoff hockey with different opponents each weekend. I know now it's about getting some rest and recovery and getting ready for another big weekend here at home.
Manchester, they did the double over us here in Belfast in early December, and that sort of put, I don't want to say a stamp down, but that's literally when we started to take off. So I'm sure you're really pleased to get that result in Storm Shelter the weekend.
Yeah, the season's full of highs and lows, and that was certainly the biggest low of this season, and a real changing point, I think, just in terms of the lineup as well. The roster changes that we did make that weekend had a lot to do with it. And I think that since that weekend, we recognize we can't drop any more points, and the guys have been on a heck of a run.
This weekend, Cardiff Devils doubleheader, Belfast. They'll bring a big crowd with them. Massive crowd expected from the Tail Army as well. Just one game at a time.
Exactly. Full focus on Saturday. We're aware that Cardiff is very much in this title chase. They're going to come in here to not just further their chances, but also try and ruin our parade. So we have to be dialed in and ready for game 1, and then we'll get that one out of the way, and then we'll focus on game 2.
Thanks, Keefe.
Big thanks to Donald and to Adam Keefe for that. Thanks for getting those says. Right, time for the fan agenda, brought to you by our good friends at Belfast Giants TV, and we're delighted to welcome back. We spoke to him earlier in the season when he started working on the bench for the Belfast Giants. Former captain, championship campaign winner for the Belfast Giants, and now assistant coach. Please welcome back George Awada. How are you doing, mate?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, really good. Thanks for coming back on the show. Give us just your insight initially. The weekend pass, we've just spoken about it, and obviously we haven't actually got to the other games that were happening that have sort of given a bit more of a foothold to the Belfast Giants. But from our perspective, and the 2 performances we had in Sheffield and in Manchester, what was your reflection on how we played?
There were 2 solid efforts. Obviously, Kiefer does a really good job of preparing everybody, even myself and Stewie, like he keeps tabs with the stats and the standings and everything. And we knew this last run of, 10, 15 games, we needed to play playoff hockey. And that's where the guys kind of have been doing that, even that Coventry game, we looked at it and it was a good game for us. It just didn't go our way. So, coming into these games, I think our preparation was pretty sound and pretty level-headed. And you had a good, calm feeling. There was no pressure in winning the game, even though we needed to win the game. And the guys are ready to go. And we're fortunate to get that first goal in Sheffield, which is huge. because they play, like gangbusters there. And that just set the tone, I think, for the weekend, especially for that night. But for the weekend, we talked about it, just saying it was kind of a calming feeling. And regardless of who scored first, I think we would have fared well in that game. It's easy to say that now, but it just, on the feeling on the bench in the room, the guys were ready to go. So with our best foot forward, you guys talk about all the time, we're pretty hard to beat. We can beat ourselves sometimes, but I think this last 2 months, we've been helping ourselves by starting on time and playing the right way for mostly of the 60 minutes of the game.
Being in that room, you've been in the room when we've won titles, cups, everything else. You've been part of teams that have been able to go out there and achieve that. Given where we're sitting right now, how high is the confidence in that room?
It's good, it's hard to say, because there's a lot of new guys in there. You're talking about, there's some new boys that are just starting the battle with us, right? And so there's some guys that were around last year and had all those moments and stuff. And for some of these new guys, it's they're feeling the confidence from obviously the guys that have been around before, and Kiefer and myself and Stu. We've all been there. But again, it's a quiet confidence, it's a calm confidence. And I think the guys are just having fun playing, and I think you can see that, especially in the both rinks. We're just playing for each other. We got a couple bumps and bruises here, so 3-line hockey is not ideal at this time of year, but the guys are finding a way to make it work. And the big man and between the pipes there, he's making a lot of fun too, because he's just a good presence in the locker room, and his confidence, I think, raises all of our level as coaches and players.
I've noticed that a lot of at the weekend, especially in Sheffield, you could always go with the old hockey cliche about don't get too high with the highs, too low with the lows. The guys, even though they're kind of 4-0 up against Sheffield, it might have been the third goal actually, which was the real killer for us. There wasn't that huge a celebration. Still business as usual on the bench. The guys were very low key, not massive celebrations. Let's just get back. Next shift's important here. There's a calmness about the team as well.
Yeah. No, it was them doing it, right? We're not there telling them to calm down. But you could feel the momentum. And they had a couple cracks at it, but Vesco made a few saves here and there. But we had the puck. We were doing the things we're doing. We're doing our early takes. We're doing the things that is preached every day. And Keefer's been doing that for years, right? And these guys, he says this time of year, when it starts to click, it clicks, and the team just does it. And you could see that and feel that. And it's a good feeling for us, obviously. But yeah, those, you get those goals, and you always want to get that next one to feel it. And early on in the year, we weren't getting those goals. We weren't getting that confidence to close out a game where we got those goals. And whether we got them or not, our penalty kill's been great. And, just anything that's been thrown at us, I think we're able to handle it with a little more level-headed. But it was a great game. But again, it was a 2-game weekend. So we had to take care of business both nights. And I think that was part of the mindset for a lot of the guys.
I want to talk to you as George Awada, rather than like the ex-Belfast Giant, if you like, coming back. You've obviously been involved in the game since you left here as a player, but stepping behind the bench, trying to be a calming influence, try and bring your experience along and teach as well as a coach. Is it different winning as a coach and winning as a player? Is it hard to keep those emotions in check?
A little bit, but there is time. Yeah, I do check myself, especially that Wednesday game we had there when we won something. It was an exciting game and things, but it was a weird thing because it's, they're the ones doing the work and everything. And we're just kind of, opening doors and telling, doing the things we're doing as coaches, but it is still very exciting to be a part of it. And this organization's had it for years, when I was playing, before I was playing, and now. So it's just kind of a, it's a culture thing. We always, everyone talks about it, but it is different. But it still feels the same. We're all pretty passionate. Even Stewie, even though he doesn't say much, we're all pretty passionate about what's going on. And when we're winning, we're loving it. And when we lose, it's, we just try to figure out what we need to do better. But yeah, no, it is a lot of fun being on this side of it. But I like it. Speaking to the other guys, if we could, I think we'd like to be in the jersey too.
People, says before you go there, just before you go, people don't always see it. You've said it, George. People don't always see the smile from Rob's jersey. He's calm and influence. He's seen it. He's seen everything. He's been there. He's done it for 20 plus years for the Belfast Giants. when we had a drink at whatever midnight after the cup final, he was happy. Like, there's no doubt. Stewie loves this club, loves everything about it. He's amazing. We were talking, Simon and me were talking in the car yesterday, picked me up from the airport. What Stewie has done for this club over 20 plus years is just something that can't be ignored.
He's froze.
Yeah, no, where I'm back here. Yeah. So no, yeah, Stewie's, it's amazing. Like, and we'll sit around on the bus or in the plane, whatever. We're having a coffee and talking about stories, and like, he remembers almost everything from back when he was playing to things, and him and Kiefer, they're talking about things, meetings they've had for the last 4 or 5 years. So it's really cool being a part of all those conversations. And it's just recent coaching events and things for Stewie. But yeah, like I said, like, he was great. Like, we used to call him Yoda back when he was kind of playing and going into coaches, because like, he was the wise one sitting in back, and he could defend anybody, no matter what his age was and whoever was coming at him. He was the grand master back then. And he hasn't aged in my eyes. And I think a lot of the guys.
Put you in contact with our sponsor, Cathedral Eye Clinic. They'll sort you out, George.
Yeah. But it just,
George, just while you're talking about Stewie, what's he like on Mac when he's on the bench? I mean, again, we see it from a distance. He's looking after the D. I get that, but is he tough on him? Does he let him just get on with his game? What's he like? I mean, I know I see him up that, he certainly doesn't mind chirping every once in a while, but what's he like as a dad / coach to Mac on the bench?
He's good. He's really standoffish a little bit. I mean, he'll get in his ear when he needs to, probably more so in between periods. But he'll just watch Mac, and he'll notice everything. And I notice what Mac does as well too, and I'm watching him. And then Stewie and I will talk about it. He's like, yeah, I did notice that. So we have this conversations. He does recognize the things he could do well or better. But like, the kid, for the amount of time he's been getting these last few games, he's been doing great. Just what we need him to do. Spur some energy and throw some things around. I mean, there's times when he has the puck and he doesn't make the right decision, but then Stewie comes to, we talk about it, and it's like, well, actually, he's been sitting on the bench for 45 minutes, so not a lot is expected of him. But he's a calm, like he coaches everybody. He's pretty calm, doesn't yell, doesn't say anything, but he will have words with them a little bit, just to say, hey, we probably could have done something here. Try this, try that. Next time, stick the guy in the face. I don't know what he's saying to him. Whatever the situation Matt gets himself into. But and even in practice too, it's the same thing. He'll let him do his thing, let him be an adult, more or less, and then he'll grab him, pull him on the side, and say, "Hey, let's go. Pick up your socks here a little bit." And it's kind of cool to have that for him, but he doesn't make it. It's not too overbearing or anything like that.
I talked to Adam about it this morning. I mentioned in the interview. I don't know if you've seen it when you're sitting in the green room. Manchester doubleheader back in December. We lost both games in Belfast, and I think it was Cardiff. We lost a game right after that, so it was 3 in a row. And then went on 11 wins in the league. And building that confidence coming out of that, I know that the doubleheader against Manchester did sting the boys. But coming out of that, getting 11 wins, then losing a couple more and going again with 12 wins, the character in the room after a loss has been really, really good. Again, that even last week, losing that game against Coventry, going on their road trip against Sheffield and Manchester, and to come out with those 2 wins at the weekend were just huge.
Yeah, no, that's, and even at the time, like, I'm still kind of trying to catch up to speed with everything, because things happen a lot of fast, these games and scenarios, situations, and Kiefer's like, that's it. He thought we were that weekend killed us. And it could have, and it probably, we'll be able to say that in a few weeks if it did or not. But I think what I see as it now too, as well, is it was a good kick in the butt for a lot of guys, for us as coaches, for the players, and it was, it wasn't the end of the line, but it did spur us to go the extra step. And obviously Kiefer realized that, and he doubled down on everything. And he's done that for most of the year, but that was a good turning point for a lot of reasons, and it worked. Or it's working. We took off in the right direction, And I think using that as a marker and saying this, we were able to achieve this because of that. I think it's another point in the season where you can look at it and it's like, all right, what else can go wrong here? You know, we've done everything, we've been through things, we've proven what we can do after those kind of turmoils, that kind of a banana peel, as everyone says, you know. And it's in our hands. You know, we just got to take care of the next game. And that's been the mantra for all of the year, but it just coming together as the group in the room. They realize that. We've had a couple nice weekends, like that Sheffield weekend at home. Those things kind of erase those memories for the short term, and hopefully it's just one of those weekends we messed up on, but we're making up for it now.
We've got a few questions that have come in for people who are watching, and a few have come in on Twitter, which I'll come to in just a second. But let me take you back a couple of weeks to that game on the Wednesday night where we beat Fife to lift the Challenge Cup. You, as a player, won two elite league championships with the Belfast Giants, a playoffs, a knockout cup, and a Challenge Cup, I think, if that's correct. But this is the first time this is the first time you've won one behind the bench. Obviously, I assume being part of the lads on the ice is the ones that you cherish the most. But what was your experience of that Wednesday night? What was your experience of being on the bench and being in that packed arena as we lifted that Challenge Cup?
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, the whole buildup was a little weird and nerve-wracking, and the team was there prior, right? And over the last 5 years, right? It's been like a common theme. So I just tried to stay out of the way. I was like, I didn't know what to do, and I just took it as a regular game. And, there was nerves and stuff and behind the scenes, but again, the confidence was there, no matter if it was for a trophy or not in the room, so it was just kind of prepare, do what we got to do. We had played Fife so many times before that. We kind of had an idea of how we needed to play in certain situations and stuff. So we just wanted to make sure we hit those points during the game. And then, we got the goals and things were rolling, and it was, the crowd was unbelievable. The whole atmosphere was insane. And it was good for the guys, because that game doesn't portray the rest of that whole tournament, the whole Challenge Cup series that we had to go through, the Nottingham, the Guildford wins and stuff. Like, those were monument games that we had to get to that point. So, that was the cherry on the top. I'm glad it went the way it did for us, but, as a coach, it was a good feeling. But as you guys know, with this organization, when I was playing too, it's just one thing to do. Now we got to move on to the next one, and it was always, back when I was playing stuff, it was always kind of a distraction for a lot of teams, because it was a mid-season kind of tournament, and a lot of new guys coming over didn't understand it. We had trouble getting in it and winning and stuff, but we did win it. It was, at the Ice Bowl, so it was the best feeling in the world, because we deserved that, and we deserved it this year. The team deserved it all the years in the past year that they've won it. And it was just, again, it was another game, it was another trophy for the organization, but it was good for the whole sequence of games leading up to that one.
A couple of questions coming in I'll start off with Twitter. Alan Brett's just asking, what has been the most challenging or rewarding elements of moving into coaching coaching with the Giants this season?
Not jumping over the boards. That's the most challenging thing. Especially early on.
Wanting to be involved.
I wanted to do it. Wanted to get out there and get my skates on. But I've been learning every day. I'm still learning. I couldn't Kiefer, we have kind of the same mentality about things. I mean, he's pretty intense, and I think we played the game. I mean, he was a hell of a lot tougher than I was, but we played the game pretty hard, and we played honest and defended our team. We did all those things. So we kind of come from the same mindset, which is easy, but the whole technical side, the X's and O's, just the different systems and everything, that's been the most challenging to get up to speed, to be on his level, or to be able to, help him out some more. But it hasn't taken long, because the game hasn't changed that much. It's just, at the end of the day, it's about compete and effort, and playing for one of each other, and just being a part of that process it's been great. And, I hope we have a good finish this last stretch here. And I can say I learned a good lesson from him and the team and the organization. But it's been a good test for me, and it's been a lot of fun. I'll tell you that. I don't want to finish, but there's an end soon.
It follows on to a question there from Neil on Twitter, saying during the warm-ups when you're on the bench, what are you looking for? What are you studying? What are you looking for?
Yeah, when I was a player, I'd always watch the other team and see different things, see if how the goalie is. More, I'll usually watch the goalie, but a lot of times I'd watch players if I didn't know them or how they're doing, what they're doing. So that's what I'm doing now. That's what I do now, just to get an insight, to see how the league is and how the teams are. And I started that from the first weekend, just because I wanted to see what the pace was like. Because I saw our guys, but I want to see other teams more than just in the game. So yeah, I just check to see where the goalie is, how they're feeling it. They're kind of their players, if they're working on different sequences during the warm-ups. Just little tidbits that can help with, give the guys if they need it, if they're not watching it. And also watch our guys. I like to see how our guys are feeling and if they're shooting, and it's just kind of good insider information sometimes if it comes down to overtime or shootout or just different line combinations. I'll let Kiefer know, like, I see something here or I see something there. But that's all. It's just a kind of a personal thing that I do. Kiefer doesn't. They sit back there and go over the game plan and stuff, and just something for me to do that I like to do.
Big thanks to everybody who's been sending in questions. We're going to let you go, George. One last thing. Obviously, the doubleheader against the Cardiff Devils this weekend. We've got 3 weekends left in the season. How's preparation going into that double against Cardiff?
It's good. It's good. It was a good weekend on the road. Wasn't too stressful. Travel's pretty easy. We got back. We've had a few days to recover. And these are the next two. And it's kind of nice playing the same opponent, but it's that first game we're setting up to hopefully set up for Sunday. So it can go either way. Cardiff's been playing well. Ever since we lost them, I think they went on a nice run, or we were a part of their run there. So we're just looking to play the way we need to play in our building, get the crowd going. But there's some things we got to, we haven't seen Cardiff in a bit, so we got to just fine tune some things on our end just to counteract what they do but overall, I think the mood's good, but no one's ahead of themselves. We just need to take care of Saturday and then go from there.
George, listen, we really appreciate your time. Hopefully everything goes well, and we'll chat to you again, no doubt, as this season comes to a hopefully exciting conclusion.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate having me.
Big thanks to George Awada. Great to have him on. I love chatting to George Awada, but it's like we didn't even get on to chatting about his playing. We talked about it a little time when he was on last time about his playing days. It's just one that maybe over the summer we'll get him on and we'll have more of a chat, because it's just a fun guy to talk about, and he's won it all with the Belfast Giants, Davy.
Nostalgia is great, isn't it? Whenever you look back at, we've been watching this team for over 20 years, and your best memories, even though we're always creating new memories at the minute, and we're hanging banners and making memories and all that good stuff. Stuff that happened years ago will never be topped. Nostalgia
in your head, exactly.
You look through old glasses at things that happened 15 years ago, and they'll never be better than Theo Fleury being here, or different things that happen. You get that buzz looking back, and we tell the people that are coming on board with the Belfast Giants now, and Simon talk about the number of new season ticket holders that are coming in at a really rich vein. Enjoy now, because it'll never be better than it is now for you, because when you look back, now is when you'll enjoy, because you become older, you become more cynical, and it isn't as enjoyable now as it was 15 years ago, because you're not drinking at every game and you're not having as much, just the nostalgia of looking back and having the fond memories of things that happened years ago. And we're going to, obviously, Neil Francis coming on, and the fun we had in the Welsh National Ice Arena. I remember going there, then I remember going to the Big Blue Tent, and things that happened, having chocolate pizza with, the different things that have happened over the last 20 years that'll never be bettered. Live in the now, because what's happening now won't always. We are really blessed as an organization to be in the hunt at the minute every year. But you look at teams that have been perennially in the hunt that are maybe dropping off a wee bit at the minute. The Nottingham Panthers, who went through all those years where they won all those Challenge Cups, where they won all those playoffs, and at the minute they're scratching about to try and get a 7th or 8th place. It's not always great.
Never take it
for
granted.
Never take it for granted. That's the short way of saying what I was trying to say.
Never take it for granted. But just briefly, we've Neil Francis waiting in the wings. We're going to bring him in just a second. But says, on George Awada, you see him on a more regular basis than Davy and I, and what he does behind the scenes. Bringing him into the organization the way we have has been a real boost to Adam Keefe on the bench.
Like, again, it's when you surround yourself with winners, it makes this game a little bit easier, because you can pick on their brains. I mean, Stewie's won an awful lot, Adam's won an awful lot, and it even goes down to, even where we are right now, and bringing in whatever it is. I mean, Steve sounds like Steve saying an awful lot of players this year. You sort of forget how many new guys you've brought in, but it's just, it just makes the games an awful lot easier to speak to people, to pass on the experience of what they've been through and how tough that they've got to play every single night to get a win, to win a trophy, to have memories that you'll never forget. So it's George has certainly done that in spades, and you rhymed off what he had won earlier, Paddy, and obviously with being an assistant coach now, he's got his first trophy as well. So he'll be hungry. He sort of played it down there. We'll look at the head of the next game, but there's no doubt that the players are already thinking ahead. They've 6 games left, 5 of them at home, and they'll be sitting thinking, oh God, if we win these 2 games this weekend, when's it possible if Guildford lose there? But it's so many permutations available. I mean, you were talking about it earlier on your Twitter and trying to think about what flight to get home for.
Mate, especially at this time.
You just have to take one game at a time. And get Franny on so we get stuck into him for the crack.
Yes, with the double header coming up against the Cardiff Devils, we were delighted to bring him on. Well, with nearly over 650 games or more for the Cardiff Devils, our next guest has done it all with the club since he joined as a junior, age 12. He can correct me on that if I'm wrong. But I was going to say he's a one-club man. He played for Telford, but he had his connection to his hometown team run strong. He's been a junior, a player, an assistant coach, a head coach, a director of hockey ops. Basically, he's Mr. Cardiff Devils. We're delighted to welcome friend of the show, Neil Francis. How you doing, mate?
Hey, how you doing? Good to see you all.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, long-time listener, first-time caller and all that.
You joined the club age 12, is that right?
I did, yeah. So I first started, yeah.
Remarkable, like to spend so much time with one club and to do it all. But before we'll come to that in just shortly. Let's just talk about initially about the Cardiff Devils and where they are this season. There's a level of inconsistency that hasn't been there in seasons past.
Yeah, I think that word sums up our season: inconsistent. There's some games when we play, we're tearing teams apart, and we looked at that step above, and then there's other games that team isn't anywhere to be seen, and we struggle, and it's even in game as well. I mean, we lost at home to Manchester recently. The first period shots, it was on Viaplay. It was 18-4 in our favour. It looked one-way traffic, and we only come out of that period 1-0 up, and then from that. A pushback from Manchester in the second period, and again we heavily outshoot Manchester in the third period, but end up losing the game. And those are the games that you have to win, especially when you're that dominant. And that's been our kind of Achilles heel all year.
How do you combat that, though? Obviously, you've been there. You've been working on the bench with the as a player, but on as assistant coach, a head coach, and you've got Brodie Dupont there. It was more or less his rookie season. Of course, he had a bit of time at the end of last season, but his rookie season as a head coach on his own. How do you find a way to sort of combat that in the room?
I mean, to be fair to our first line, I mean, like your guys, you've got a very dominant first line, and so have we, and they're going week in, week out, and it's the secondary scoring that we need some help with. And I think you guys have got that at the moment with like some McLeod coming in and hitting the ground running. We'd like a little bit more from our sort of second and third lines, because shout out to Davis, Brandt, and Duggan. They've been doing a cracking job on our energy line, but it's that secondary scoring that we really need help with. And Jake Kugler was out for a long time, and that hurt us a lot, because before that he had something like 11 goals in 14 games, and he's still finding his feet as he comes back from that injury. So there's things that we're changing up that the coaches are doing to get some different looks at ways that we can crack that, and we need the guys to trust that, to stick with that, and and be as dominant as we have been in spells of games on a more consistent basis, but also be clinical as well.
Franny, is this something that you'll look back possibly and at the end of the season and not wish you'd made changes, but look at why you did or didn't make changes. You know, we talk about the Belfast Giants and through October, November into December when we're really inconsistent and we lacked that second. We talked about in the podcast almost week in, week out. We weren't getting scoring apart from the Conway Goodwin line, and whether it was Ori or whether it was Mark Cooper in with him there, we just weren't getting that secondary scoring. And Steve Thornton and Adam Keefe, they went to the marketplace, they brought in new blood, they changed the season around. The season could have been dead and buried that weekend in Cardiff, where I think we lost 4-2. We'd lost 3 in a row. We were at a turning point. They made changes, and for whatever reason, we went on those 2 big streaky runs, and we've ended up where we are. Would that be something that you would look back and maybe would have changed a few bodies if you could do it again?
Yeah, I mean, the hindsight stuff is always great to have. We have built success in Cardiff since the new era has been here on having a consistent roster and staying with that through the bad times and the good, and it's done well for us. So that's the kind of thing that we've done. The other thing, as Steve Thornton and Adam Keefe will know, player availability over the post-COVID years is. It's a different place than it was before that. You look at the amount of mid-season signings around the league and even in Europe that do well, and it's very limited. I mean, you're lucky you got McLeod that came in, and his stats don't really jump off the page, but he's come in, he suits the league well. Obviously, he skates extremely well, and that's been a bit of a game changer for you guys. But in general around the league, I don't think that many guys have come in mid-season and really, turn the league upside down. So, would a fresh face earlier on have done something to us? Well, you could say yes, because we haven't got that secondary scoring, but you never know until you give guys opportunity.
Franny, I can't not ask you, where were you when Todd came out last week and started off with your team, the home team, the Belfast Giants? What was that all about?
Well, I was in the dressing room, so I didn't get to hear about it until after the game, and and check social media, and then that's when I got to hear about it. But yeah, I guess all habits die hard, don't they?
I'll give him a microphone this weekend. See if he's if he's in the mood, we'll get him to give a shout out. There's no problem. You just touched on Jake Kugler. He was missing for a long time, as was Sam Jardine.
Yep.
You've got them both back in the lineup now. Arguably, in my opinion, 2 of the best players in the league. And coming into this weekend, how you guys are shaping up? How he's looking for Saturday's face off at 7 p.m.
Yeah, going back to those 2 guys and the point that Davy made, that again played a point into do we recruit or not, because we had those 2 guys sitting out that could have been season-ending injuries. They could have been a week, and we literally didn't know. And it was week by week, and we tried everything we could, and we had lots of false starts in terms of getting them back. And it's a case that if we recruit somebody in, then one of those guys is going to be out for the year. And like you say, they're 2 huge players, and you'd want them in your lineup every day of the week. So, for us holding on in there to give those guys the opportunity to come back, it took a lot longer than we anticipated, than anyone anticipated. But we're glad to have them back in there now, and starting to get back up to where they were. And coming into this weekend, it's a massive weekend for both teams, isn't it? It comes to, we're in that funny time of the season where you have to expect the unexpected. There's teams that are on big runs that all of a sudden can drop off a cliff, and 1 loss can lead to 3, and all of a sudden,
I know here for Sheffield got a win tonight. Just to let you know,
Yeah, I saw that, and that they were 1-0 down for sort of over half the game, and then it's a late power play goal that wins it. And all the games are tight from here on in, and you guys enjoyed the situation where we had Cardiff were in the lead quite comfortably coming towards the end of the season, and then had a stuttering run in, and then enabled you guys to win the league that one year. It literally is, anything can happen. I mean, realistically for us, if we don't come over and probably sweep this weekend, that could be us out of the race. We haven't done ourselves many favors lately with the recent results that we've had. So, we need a big weekend, and obviously we've got that horrible loss we already had in Belfast at the start of the year, that disaster game for us. That's still burning in the back of our minds when we come in this weekend. And this is everything for us. We've got to go all in this weekend, and if we do that, then that means that you guys would be 0-3, I think, and then with Sheffield coming in the week after, and it makes it difficult for you, and then maybe the confidence that you spoke about earlier and the mindset changes on that, because it is that time of the year where there's very little room for error.
But you see, you're absolutely right about it. This time of the year where eyes are going to every sort of result, especially the results against your closest rivals for the title. I remember that season you spoke of, and we were watching the games that Cardiff are playing, and you're 1 goal down, and maybe you're 2 goals down, and we're thinking, oh, Cardiff are 2 goals down. It's midway through the second, but then they end up winning 3-2 because you think there's a way to fight back. The way to fight back, and that was just you're watching every single result, every single game that comes through the door, despite the fact that we've had 30 odd, 40 odd, 50 odd games gone in the past, but we're not watching as closely as we do at this point in the season.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you're always hoping that somebody does you a favor, aren't you, at this time of the year? And tonight we're both egging on Dundee, and you see them get the lead there, and you hope they hold it out, and you hope they get a second, but it wasn't to be. But that's why it makes this sport such a great sport, and the sport we all love. And while everyone comes in and tells us the playoffs is the real thing, we know that this is a 54 game playoff series, and that's why it makes it such a huge prize over here, and why it's the most coveted one.
We spoke when we brought you on about your longevity with the Cardiff Devils and the years you've been with the organisation through good times and bad. The times where the Devils weren't even able to play because there was nowhere to play. The times that in the big blue tent and where you are now. When you look at your time with the Cardiff Devils, where do you, this time that you've had, the last few years with the championships under Lordo and the organisation that you have with in Ice Arena Wales, where does this time sit in the whole pantheon of your time with the Devils?
There's been so many different eras that I've had. I mean, when I first came in the team, I was just so lucky to be on, straight into a team that had the likes of the Cooper brothers and Steve Mario, Shannon Hope, Doug McEwen, and all those guys. And the first year I came in, I think we won the double. Maybe the next year it was the treble, and then it was, I wonder what we're winning next year. And you just didn't know what it was like to not have a trophy. And then, of course, the barren years come along, and then you kind of realize, what do you mean you don't get trophies every year and you got to work for them? And I probably didn't appreciate those early years as much as I should have, because it just came too easy. Because let's be honest, the young kids were a very small part of it. We were there to just eat up some minutes in some games where we had leads, and just to give guys a breather for the next night. And probably didn't appreciate those trophies and everything that the guys that I've mentioned have done to win those, until you get into the barren times, and then you have to rebuild. And then when you do win a trophy again, it's just such a magical thing. And over the last few years, we've been, so fortunate to have our hands on so many trophies. And, that first one, the Challenge Cup final, and, people always, or fans, talk down the Challenge Cup, and unless you win it. You guys had a great night the other night. And, looking back to Adam Keefe's start as a coach of the Belfast Giants, didn't have a great year in the league, but I think it might have been 4th or 5th place or something that year. But I think, you came into Cardiff, you win the Challenge Cup, and then that sets his kind of era up as a championship winning era. And, you haven't looked back. So, over the last few years, that Challenge Cup was absolutely magical. I think just because of all the nonsense that we'd been through the year before, and all the effort that had gone on in a very short space in that summer to put a team together and to have it come through with a trophy was amazing. And then we couldn't quite get over the line, could we, for the big one? I think in the next 3 years, we lost the league title by either 1 or 2 points, which was heartbreaking. And then in that, I think it was the 4th season, we won it and then retained it the next year. And it was and then it was to try and break the 19-year curse of the playoffs, and and we did that, and we're 3 in a row at the moment.
What's it like? Because I stood last year almost macabre watching you celebrate from just down the tunnel, almost like sycophantic. It was hurtful to watch it, but I wanted to feel so bad because when we win it eventually, statistics say eventually, it's been 10 years since we won it. We've got to win it, not this year, sometime. What's that feeling like to win that last game of the season? Because I remember from 2010, it's unbelievable. It's 13 years ago. You remember, Paddy, that feeling as fans to win that last game. I know we want to win the 54-game league, and that's the big one, and we'll love winning it. But there's something very, very special about winning that playoff weekend.
Yeah, there is. And Ivan Matula keeps in contact. He was a great captain for the Devils. And before that playoff win, he'd sent me a message, and, he talked about how one year he was with the Devils and we won the league and it was all great. And then you lose in the playoffs and you have a miserable summer. And then, on the flip side of that, the year that they didn't win the league, but then they ended up winning that final game, they had the best summer of their lives. So, his message was to go out and earn yourself a good summer. And, that one last year was extra special, I think, on a personal level, because, Brodie DuPont was appointed coach, his first head coaching gig. And, obviously I was helping him out there, and it was such a bizarre 4 weeks leading up to that, where Jared Scaldi was let go. Me and Dupes were given the reins, and it was a team that had was pretty much checked out for various things. And after the loss against you guys in the Challenge Cup final, where we had the lead going into the third period, and then you end up winning it overtime. From then on in, it didn't look like we were going to recover, and that was going to be our season over. So to get that new lease of life with 4 weeks to go, when Dupes came in and re-energized the troops and got everybody pulling in a direction and gave them the leadership that they were crying out for, gave them the preparation they were crying out for, and then to see all that rewarded with that game. And I know it was hard for you guys, but the season you had was phenomenal last year. But it is an unbelievable feeling just to jump over that board and get your hands on that last trophy.
Paddy's going to throw up something here. Oh, sorry, says Paddy's just going through something up here.
There's a picture here Davy shared with us.
Yeah,
thoughts remember that? I was talking to Thor. Sorry, he says, look at the wind blowing through that lovely golden strawberry blonde there, But and there's obviously
there's Brent Pope as well.
So a lot of good memories wrapped up. Although it's the Belfast Giants Supremo at the front of the bus, there's still a lot of good memories wrapped up in that, Franny.
Yeah, what a day that was. It was a rugby international day. I think it was Wales, England, and we had a reception at the Lord Mayor's house, and it started off at the rink where, classically you go in the changing room and sink as many beers as you can. And, we were getting picked up at like midday. So we're already sort of in one, getting on that bus and then driving around the town, which was absolutely jam-packed with Wales fans for the rugby game, and then seeing us as champions coming through, and they were absolutely screaming their heads off. And then the reception at the Lord Mayor's house and into town after, it was one of the best all days I think I've ever been on.
Manny, I just want to touch on, obviously all these years now, when you look back at the junior development program that's come through, Cardiff Devils, Nicky Chin, yourself, Jason Stone, Marzy, you've got Richie still there, and obviously Jono as well. And you've got these three guys who've played well over 1,000 games now, and Richardson, Jonathan Phillips, and Matty Myers. What did you have in the water down in South Wales at that time when they all started playing?
Yeah, we can't quite claim Richie because he was a Swindon junior, but I think he came to us at like 19 or something. Yeah. He'd been playing in Bracknell, and Ed Patterson, coach at the time, picked him up as a raw youngster and gave him an opportunity with two great players, and he didn't look back. The likes of Myersy and Jonna and Phil Hill, all from the same era, and that was an era where we had ex-players running the coaching, the junior development. So you had Merv Priest was a lot to do with that. Peter Smith, he ran it for a bit. And I think that's something that Cardiff did well back in the day. Certainly when I was playing, it was part of the imports job to coach one of the junior sides. So you either had Shannon Hope, Steve Moria, John Lawless, or Doug McEwen coaching you. And, you can't ask for better guys to learn from than those guys. So, and that continued then where they appointed a kind of junior development officer. And like I said, Merv Priest did a great job on that. And sort of, I think it was installing that mentality that that's successful, that winner's mentality. And, those guys that we've mentioned there are just absolute machines, aren't they? They just kept on going year after year. I mean, John is almost 40 and Maisy's getting up there. And it's incredible. And they look after themselves so well. And, I hear all the time, as you probably do, that there's not enough opportunities for British guys. And, look, somebody should have a look at these guys playing in EIHL. But they don't have the mentality. They don't have the mentality that the guys have got. And, the guys that are playing in the Elite League are playing there because they've made sacrifices and they've gone the extra mile. They've, sorted their diets out. They've hit the gym hard. They work so hard in the summer.
Yeah.
John is still probably the hardest working guy in the summers that I know of. And they're there for a reason. And if guys want it that bad, they can do the same sort of thing and get their opportunities. It just doesn't get given to you.
No, you're absolutely 100% right. I was speaking to Simon Keaton a while ago and just, asking the same sort of question to him. Obviously, Keaton's come over and played a year in Belfast and Newcastle United. Really, really good lad. But there's just so many. I totally agree with you. I hate the argument of people saying that they don't get chances and they don't get opportunities, and you basically earn what you put into it. And you're absolutely 100% right.
Yeah, it's not a God-given right to play at the top professional level at any sport. If you want it, you've got to work hard for it. And I'm afraid that there's a lot of guys in the second league that think they want it, but they don't.
Funny, so we sit here and chat for ages. What I'm going to say, actually, I want to give a shout to you, to John Donovan and the Gaz Hughes, because I was really enjoying these podcasts, really enjoying them. Behind the Bench of Neil Francis. You haven't done one in a couple of years, but for anybody who's not actually listened to them, there's what, 23, 24 episodes of these. You've two episode 23s, part 1 and part 2. I'll not judge that, but these were great. It says 37 episodes. That's episode 23. Anyway, this was great to listen to and some great stories in there. So anybody that hasn't actually had a look, go and find it Behind the Bench with Franny, John, and Gaz. It's a great listen. One last thing, Franny, big weekend, as you said. How are preparations going as you travel to Belfast for the weekend's games?
Well, you lot have made it a lot harder for us to prepare because you got an entirely new roster, haven't you, since we played you last? lot of new video to do. We can't recycle anything that we'd seen last time, that's for sure. But now, on a serious level, it's we know that you've got a very good team, and bringing Bescoani back was a master stroke. I mean, I actually liked Peyton Jones, who you had before, but just shows how good Besco is. That when he comes in, he's made that much of a difference again. He's another level. So we know we got to work hard to beat him. We know you've got that top scoring line that is just scoring for fun, and now you have some secondary scoring chipping in too. So it's not going to be easy, that's for sure. And with the way our team has been this season and the inconsistency, if I'm honest, I don't know which Cardiff Devils we're going to get this weekend. I'm hoping it's the one that has shown up in a lot of big games this year. We've played pretty well against the top sides, and when it comes to the crunch, so it's a kind of backs against the wall mentality coming into a tough building against an extremely talented team who are gunning for the top again, and you're reigning champions, and it's our job to try and stop you.
Listen, we really appreciate you taking the time to come and join us. It's been absolutely fabulous. Hopefully, you'll come and join us again for another chat in the seasons to come. But I'm not wishing you well this weekend. But good luck going forward.
No, thanks for having me on, and definitely come on again if you'll have me. And good to see you a few days earlier than I thought I would.
Fabulous. Thanks, mate.
See you the weekend.
See you on the weekend.
Thank you, Neil.
Brilliant to have Franny on, and one of the good guys. Really enjoy chatting to him there. And I will say that podcast he did with John Donovan and Gal Shewish is fabulous. The stories that come out from that, from wealth of experience, Davy at the Cardiff Devils.
Man and boy, you said they're 12 years old, gone in as a kid, and worked his socks off to get a roster place with the Cardiff Devils. And what did you say? 650 games at the top level for Cardiff. And an absolutely, and not because he was on the show, an absolutely lovely gentleman, away from the cut and thrust of elite league hockey, and very, very, very grateful to him that that we're able to have him on tonight. Very grateful to him.
Yep.
See, when you look back at the first year that he actually played in Cardiff, I mean, some of the guys they play with are iconic in the British game. You've Hilton Ruggles, you've Ian Cooper and Stephen Cooper's brother, Doug McEwen, Shannon Hope, Nicky Chin played for years. Paul Heavey was a lunatic. Derek King from Fife, and obviously coming down. There were so many good players that had the opportunity to basically play in South Wales at that time. And I remember going down we played a friendly in Cardiff, would have been probably about 91, 92. We ended up in some bar. I have no idea where it was. Stupid o'clock in the morning. What?
We know. We know which one it was.
And then
we know which one it was.
We actually
me and Paddy were there.
Oh, no. 91. You two were still in your nappies.
The pub was still there. The pub was still there.
But we ended up having to break into the old Wales Ice Arena to get our gear the next morning, because we didn't remember what hotel we stayed in, so we had to go back to the arena to get our gear, because the bus was coming to pick us up at 6 o'clock in the morning to get to the airport. It was just ridiculous, like absolutely ridiculous. But it was good. I mean, I used to love playing in the old Wales Ice Arena. It was right in the center of town. It was just superb. But I mean, the organisation there that they've had over the years has been phenomenal. And since obviously our good friend Todd's went down there, it's ultimately been nothing for success since them. So I'm wishing them no luck whatsoever this weekend, and in the future. But I think it'll be 2 really good games this weekend.
Yeah, Todd saying that like you brought up, he welcomed your team, the home team, the Belfast Giants, the Cardiff Devils, which is a fabulous thing to see. I sent him a message. He says he does it at least once a year. So that's that one. That's that one out of the way. But yeah, we'll talk about the games briefly in just a second. I'm going to we've had 2 great interviews with 2 brilliant assistant coaches, so we're really running quite late in this show. So I'll rattle through a bit of news. The CHL announced that 5 countries would be added as challenge places for the 2023-24 competition. One of those being the Elite League. However, mild controversy is reigned as part of the announcement. Go through there, says. Mild controversy is reigned as part of the announcement that Guildford were deemed ineligible due to the facilities not meeting CHL standards. Now, I went to them and to try to find out some sort of official confirmation of what criteria they missed out on. Basically, it was, you name it, capacity, VIP facilities, camera positions, just that the spectrum doesn't meet what they need for regards to the CHL. Therefore, if Guildford do win the Elite League, which we all hope they don't, but if Guildford do win the Elite League, the CHL spot will be to the team who finished second. So there's a high probability whether the Belfast Giants will win. The Belfast Giants, should they finish first or second, they will be in the CHL next season. So as Guildford win it, I don't see Cardiff or Sheffield win it, but I think Guildford are the only option there. There is an ongoing debate, which we will bring back again, no doubt, maybe in the summer, as to whether the Belfast Giants are more suited to the CHL or the Continental Cup. But that's an argument for another day. League table. A quick look at the league table as I bring it up on the screen. There it is. Belfast Giants, of course, leading the way, 5 points clear of the Guildford Flames. But Flames do have one game in hand, but that wouldn't put them past us. Cardiff on 69 points from 48 games. Sheffield have a game in hand, and they're on 68 points. Oh, is that right? That might be changed as of tonight, actually, because I don't think I've refreshed this since they've won. So if that's not right, then no. No, I don't think it is. I think they'll now be on. They'll be on 70 points now. So
they'll be on 70 points now. Yep.
They're up to third. Coventry are on 64 points, but they are on one hell of a run at the minute. They've had they are 5 wins out on the trot, 8 wins out of the last 10, and they've beaten every team above them at least once. Sheffield have beaten twice. They, Simon, are a dangerous team right now.
Yeah, I mean, even when you look at the positioning for the playoff games, you know, hopefully we do finish first. Are we going to get Glasgow or Fife? They play each other this weekend. Mm-hmm. You know, Manchester, I think, are a little bit too well. They are too far ahead, you know, from the 8th position. But you know, that 5th place looks likely that it's going to be Coventry, and I would not want to be facing Coventry in the first round in the quarterfinals. I just wouldn't. Coventry are ultimately the form team at the minute, you know, alongside ourselves, but form can go out the window. You know, you just get it's over 2 games, and you just never know what can happen. I mean, look, last year it came down to shootout for us to get to the playoffs, the final. You know, so that's a long way off just now. You know, the playoff weekend starting the was it the 7th and 8th and 9th of April?
Yes.
So long way off just now, but everybody's keeping an eye on the Coventry players for sure.
Nottingham had a bit of a mixed weekend up in Scotland. They lost to Fife, but won in Dundee. I was going to actually play it here, but I haven't sorted it out. There was a very interesting interview with Corey Nielsen after the game in Dundee, where he was more or less Davy calling his team out, and it was, you know, a lot of people called about, you know, how his honesty in that interview after Dundee, but they went on to lose midweek to Coventry, and you could argue that he may have upset the apple cart in a team that were struggling.
It's difficult for him. He's came in there, obviously, and you talked about it at the time when he came in. The change was made that he was on a bit of a hiding to nothing, or he had, you know, he'd golden excuses. It was Gary Graham's team. It wasn't my team. I didn't sign them. You know, I just tried to coach him. They were uncoachable, whatever. He's at that stage now where obviously he's tried the softly approach. He's tried to defend the players. He's tried to be that coach that hasn't said anything about them in the press, and now his last throw of the dice is to come out and, you know, say they're not performing, and not so much throw under the bus, but just say, you know, publicly, you're not good enough. You're not putting in the effort level. And for a professional to be for your coach as a professional to come out and say that you're not putting the effort in required to be a professional hockey player, you would hope would sting. You know, Nottingham Panthers, 42 points from 47 games isn't a good enough return for what will have been spent. And I know we talk about budget, and budgets aren't important, but they'll have spent a lot of money on that roster this year. Simon will know better, but, you know, that hasn't been a cheaply assembled team. First year general manager post at the Nottingham Panthers for Pash. He will have learned a lot, I assume, this year as well. And it's almost, they've got to try and throw all their eggs in the playoff basket here, but they're not playing well. You've got so many teams in. You've Adam Keefe coming out in interviews talking about being in playoff form. Aaron Fox talking about trying to get into playoff form. Paul Dixon wants that team in playoff form because he wants to chase for the title. You know, the Manchester Storm have put runs together here, so Ginner has them playing in playoff form. Coventry Blaze we've just talked about, and therefore Nottingham Panthers aren't in form, and only that they've got the points they have, they could be under a little bit more pressure than what they are. 6 plays 4, I think it is, in the playoffs. So, you know, could be Sheffield.
5 plays 4
plays 5, 6 plays 3. So at the minute,
even when you look at that, you know, Cardiff versus Nottingham. If it's playoffs started tomorrow, you know, Cardiff versus Nottingham, that's a tough. I mean, would you rule the Cardiff Devils? Sorry, would you rule the Nottingham Panthers out? No, I wouldn't.
You can't really rule anybody in this league out over 2 legs. No. To be fair, Simon, apart from 1, 8, 2, 7, maybe, but 3, 4, 5, 6 is as much of a muchness. But Look, it's getting to that exciting stage of the season, to try and move things on a little bit here. Glasgow, Fife play each other. Did we talk yesterday, Simon, 3 times maybe? They've still to play each other.
No, they play each other on Sunday.
Sunday's the big game. Oh no, it's Manchester and Nottingham play each other 3 times.
Yeah.
So that's 6-7 could well turn around, but 8-9 this weekend is massive because this is Clan's last throw of the dice, really.
It's the Manchester Storm. Congratulations to them on making the quarterfinals of the playoffs. The atmosphere when that was announced, and the fact that Nottingham Panthers had beaten the Dundee Stars, there was a big cheer, even though they were getting beat. There was a big cheer around the Drizzle Dome about that. And fair play. They've struggled in past years to sort of get into that position. So they finally get those extra games into the postseason with an eye, hopefully, depending on who they face, of reaching the Final Four. And as you boys have said, that Glasgow against Fife game and the battle for that last place is going to be intense as the one at the top coming into these last 3 weekends of the league season. Finally, an interesting discussion on another podcast, Two Ales and Hockey Tales with Brent Walton, where Anthony DeLuca complained that he was sick of people shouting abuse at him for his drugs indiscretion that got him suspended from the Sheffield Steelers a few seasons ago. Clarifying the issues and saying that the fans should, quote, learn to read. And just from my point, that's a surefire way of stopping the abuse. Great idea, Anthony. One more thing. I love a few people sent a message and whatever about the clipboard incident that took place at Sheffield Arena with regards to what happened and the subsequent fallout from that. Sheffield have dealt with the incident and handed the fella a suspension. It was an unsavoury incident, but obviously there are issues with regards to the fella's mental health. I believe he had autism, whatever. What I will say is Scott Finlay on the 3-on-3 podcast spoke of this very well from a position of experience and empathy, and I do encourage people to go and have a listen to that. An unsavory incident, Davy, but one that's I guess has been dealt with now.
I think the best way to handle this genuinely is to go and listen to what Scott said. I couldn't put it in better words. When it happened, the moment it happened, we don't know the facts. We know that someone has threw something on the ice, which everybody, no matter who the guy is or what his neurodiversity is, I think someone put it, well, no matter what that is, it's unacceptable for somebody to throw something on the ice. However, mitigating factors, and we talk about them all the time in DOPS decisions and every decision that's made in life, there are mitigations to be made. Go listen to what Scott said about this. I would strongly support this guy getting any help he needs to get back into that arena, because hockey is obviously his thing. He's ultra passionate about it. His clipboard was there for him to do. His stats would help him get along with his everyday life and anything he can do. Am I supportive of him being banned for the rest of it? I don't think anybody. I think the Sheffield Steelers have handled it magnificently well. I think their statement was great. And I think we need to look at it in the round and say, if it's not the best thing for this guy that he's banned from the Sheffield Steelers, I don't even think the lino that gets hit with the clipboard would be too upset if this guy's allowed back in the arena. Treat it with sensitivity. We've all got our cross to bear and support this guy through this incident that he will probably regret doing, that he didn't mean to do probably in the way he did it, but go listen to how Scott Finlay put it, because he put it perfectly.
Simon, anything to add on that?
I haven't listened to the Scott interview, but just to reiterate what Davey said, I said to Davey the other day about this.
You did.
I've family members who have on the spectrum with autism, and I think this could, with regards to if there is a ban in place. I didn't even read the Sheffield Steelers report, but if this kid or this guy is banned from the arena for the rest of the season, that could actually end up doing more damage to him than, basically letting him back in the arena and maybe having somebody to, whether it's having another adult with him to, just to keep try and calm him down in difficult circumstances. Like, I'm all for a bit of passion when it comes for supporting your team. I have absolutely no issue with that. But it maybe just has to understand that throwing something or throwing anything onto the ice is unacceptable. But again, if it isn't, but a lot of people who go through autism, it's more important about the stability and more important with regards to routine, and taking them out of that situation and maybe having to watch at home, and it might not be doing him any good at all. So hopefully he's okay. That's number one. Hopefully he is okay.
100%.
I never like to see anybody else. I never like to see anybody. This sport needs all the fans that it can get throughout the UK. So hopefully he is okay, and I hope he got his clipboard back as well.
An unfortunate situation, and I think we support him as much as we can. If we can do anything to support his reintegration back into the game, we're there. We're there for that.
Yeah, and like I say, go and listen to the Scott Finley on the 3-on-3 podcast and what he had to say about it. I thought it was magnificent the way that he handled it through, like I say, with experience and empathy. Right, couple of last things to finish off, lads, because we're getting late. Belfast Giants against Cardiff. We've just spoken about it this weekend. 2 big games, not just for us, but for Cardiff as well, if they want to stay in any sort of a hunt. Saturday at 7 p.m. at the SSE Arena, and Sunday at 4 p.m. at the SSE Arena. And if you can't get there, both games are, of course, with Mr. Kitchen on Giants TV. These games traditionally are massive for both organizations, and both teams technically are still in the hunt for a title.
Yeah, absolutely. And both teams will be looking at it. It's one game at a time. So I agree with Davey. This part of the show's crap. Looking ahead, but I know we've got to touch on it. Like I think they've got the potential to be 2 absolute gems. Hopefully we get referees and officials that let them play. Let the guys. I mean, Davey's been at more Cardiff Devil games this year than I have. Obviously watching the 3 of them over in Wales, but it's all about letting the guys play. Let it stay out on the ice. Don't leave anything there. But it's literally just to take one game at a time. I know our boys will be looking at that now, and we'll have them dialed in for Saturday's face-off at 7 o'clock.
Davey,
Devils are coming. Devils are coming. Devils are coming here, and you've heard Neil Francis. They're smarting from that earlier season massive loss here. They will come. We talked about losing the 2 games to Manchester. The next time we went to Manchester, we shut them out. The next time we went to Manchester, we beat them 4-1. Hockey players, sports guys, people, they've got long memories. They remember the hard times because they want to put things right. Cardiff Devils, it's almost their last roll of the dice. This weekend, they have to come out and just leave it all on the ice. I think probably Bouncy and Cozen will play one each, whatever way around to play them. I think they just have to go and throw everything at the Belfast Giants and hope for a little bit of success. They've been big game. They're a big game team. A lot of the games they have lost this season have been, no doubt. And I'm confident in the roster we have. I wouldn't swap a single player. And you can say that you would. I wouldn't swap a guy from Belfast for anyone in Cardiff. And this is all about LFG.
Absolutely. Those 2 games, Saturday and Sunday, 7 p.m. and 4 p.m. at the SSE Arena. Any other business, boys?
Yes. Last Wednesday night, because we did it last Wednesday night, we might have to do it a bit more on Wednesdays because my work schedule's kind of changed. I've got a job in Belfast where I'm having to fly back and forth. Tuesday night doesn't always suit me at the minute. But last Wednesday night, I said that my uncle from America phoned and said, your mum's going into hospital tomorrow for a hip replacement. Want to wish her well. So last Wednesday night, we wish Dorothy well. That's not what my mum's called, but we wish Dory well. She's going into hospital tomorrow to get her second hip replacement inside 6 months. So I wish you all the best, Mum. Love you loads. And hopefully speedy recovery to you. You'll be out of hospital in a couple of days, day or 2, and then you can get walking the dog.
No, I said to Roy last night, if he needs anything for dinner, give us a shout instead of going down to McDonald's. So we'll sort that out for him.
He'll take you up on that. We were talking to him last night, and he was like, "Oh, this shepherd's pie is lovely." And I was like, "Dad, you could make us." And he went, "Nah, I couldn't. You're all right." Said he'll take me to Dean's, I think it was, he said.
Why? What?
Oh, that's a big time.
Dean's is closed for refurbishment at the minute.
Is it?
It will be tonight. I think somebody's going to do the windows in the way
he's
past.
He's phoning Dino after the show.
Can we give have you got something there, Simon?
No, man, I'm good this week. I'm okay.
I want to give a big shout. I'll just real quick, just flip this up here.
There is one, sorry.
Rancoy, Everest
That's
Base
it.
Camp.
That's
5,364 meters above sea level, all for supportive liver support group of the Royal Victoria Hospital. Congratulations to him. That's an absolute magnificent achievement, and it's outstanding and easy to make that. And just from all of us here, congratulations on that. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant when I saw it. And we'll tweet up the stuff you can get in support. And just want to say a big congratulations to him for that.
Fantastic. Absolutely. That's literally as soon as you started, getting ready to talk about it, I knew that's exactly what I had to say. So fantastic achievement. I know young Dylan and his mum, Glenda, are really, really proud of him. And it's unbelievable.
Rightly so.
Having to do that's just insane. I get out of breath walking up Scrabble, for God's sake. So, it's unbelievable to do that, and fair play to him for sure.
Yep. Here. Right, and on that note, big thanks to George Awada and to Neil Francis for their time to come and join us, and to Donny Niles and to Adam Keefe for the interviews they did with you, Simon. Thanks for getting those. Thanks to you, Davy, for sorting out the videos and stuff like that. Thanks to everybody who's been sending in comments, questions, and everything. We really, really, really appreciate it. And thanks for joining us live. You can get us on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. You also get us on all your normal podcast providers like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, on all that sort of stuff. At AVFTB on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and all the usual sort of bits and pieces. Thanks to you, Davy, and to you, Simon.
Thank you, Patrick, David.
And wherever you are this weekend, we hope you enjoy your hockey. We'll catch you here next time on A View from the Bridge. You